Elizabeth Holmes dropped out of Stanford in 2004 at 19 years old with an idea to revolutionize blood testing. Her company Theranos would run hundreds of medical tests from just a single drop of blood from a finger prick. No needles, no vials, results in hours instead of days, cost a fraction of traditional labs. The name combined therapy and diagnosis. She wore black turtlenecks every day, modelled herself after Steve Jobs. She spoke in this unusually deep voice, made intense eye contact, rarely blinked. Everything about her screamed visionary founder changing the world, and it worked. Her board became stacked with powerful names: George Shultz, former Secretary of State, Henry Kissinger, James Mattis, the Marine Corps General, William Perry, former Secretary of Defense. These weren't naive tech investors. These were seasoned Washington insiders with decades of experience. The money poured in. By 2013, Theranos was valued at $9 billion. Holmes owned about half, making her worth over $4 billion on paper at age 30. She became the youngest self-made female billionaire in America. Forbes cover. Time magazine's most influential people. TED Talks. She was everywhere. Major corporations wanted in. Walgreens signed a partnership to put Theranos wellness centers in stores across America. Safeway spent nearly $400 million redesigning stores for Theranos clinics. Rupert Murdoch invested $125 million. The Walton family put in $150 million. The DeVos family, $100 million. Sophisticated investors with access to the best advisors. The pitch was emotionally compelling. Holmes talked about her uncle who died of skin cancer. Early detection through accessible testing could save lives. People in developing countries could get affordable diagnostics. Poor Americans could finally access lab work. This wasn't just business, this was humanitarian. Who wouldn't want to invest? Part of what sold it was the secrecy. Holmes ran Theranos like classified military technology. Strict NDAs. Different departments couldn't communicate. She told investors they couldn't share technology details because it was proprietary. In Silicon Valley, this seemed normal. Apple was secretive. Google was secretive. Secrecy meant you had something valuable to protect. But inside the company, employees saw major problems. The Edison machines that were supposed to run all these tests didn't work properly. They weren't accurate or reliable. So what was Theranos actually doing? Taking the finger prick samples and running tests on traditional Siemens machines that every other lab used. The same equipment everyone else had. They'd dilute the tiny samples, making results even less reliable. When Edison machines did run tests, results were often wildly wrong. This wasn't just embarrassing, it was dangerous. These were medical tests doctors used for treatment decisions. Wrong results meant people didn't get needed medication or got medication they didn't need. Cancer could go undetected. Pregnancy hormones could show up incorrectly. Cholesterol levels could be completely off. Employees raised concerns. Holmes and her boyfriend Sunny Balwani, the company president, shut them down hard. Anyone questioning the technology got pushed out. The culture became toxic, dominated by fear. Question the vision. You're told you don't understand, you're not smart enough, you're sabotaging the company. Then you're fired. Tyler Shultz worked in the lab. His grandfather, George Shultz, sat on the Theranos board. Tyler saw the quality control was terrible and tried raising concerns with Holmes and Balwani. He was dismissed. He went to his grandfather thinking surely George would listen. But George sided with Holmes over his own grandson. Their relationship was destroyed. Tyler became a whistleblower. He contacted New York health regulators and John Carey-Rue, an investigative journalist at the Wall Street Journal, who'd heard rumors something was wrong. Carey-Rue started digging, found other former employees willing to talk, got documents, pieced together the real story. Holmes found out about the investigation and attacked viciously. Theranos hired David Boies, one of America's most feared lawyers. They threatened the Journal, threatened Carey-Rue, went after whistleblowers with legal intimidation. Tyler Shultz's family spent over $400,000 on legal fees defending him from Theranos' lawyers. The company hired private investigators to follow people. Holmes personally called Rupert Murdoch, who owned the Journal, and had invested $125 million in Theranos. She asked him to kill the story. Murdoch refused to interfere with editorial independence. October 2015, Carey-Rue's bombshell published. It exposed how Edison machines didn't work, how Theranos used traditional machines, how results were unreliable, how the company systematically misled everyone. Holmes went on CNBC's Mad Money immediately. She was defiant, insisted the story was false. She said they had data proving their technology worked but couldn't share it because it was proprietary. She blamed competitors trying to tear down a disruptive innovator. She suggested sexism was behind the criticism. A young woman succeeding in tech was threatening to the establishment, but regulators moved in hard. The FDA inspected and found serious deficiencies. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services found problems so severe they posed immediate danger to patient health. They revoked the license for Theranos' main lab and banned Holmes from owning any medical lab for 2 years. Walgreens ended their partnership and sued for $140 million. Safeway sued. Patients who'd received incorrect results sued. Partners pulled out. In 2016, Forbes revised Holmes' net worth from $4.5 billion to zero. The $9 billion company was worthless. The SEC charged Holmes and Balwani with massive fraud in March 2018. They'd raised over $700 million through an elaborate scheme of lies. They lied about technology capabilities, lied about revenue, claiming $100 million when they made $100,000, faked demonstrations for partners. In one brazen example, when pitching Pfizer, they needed to demonstrate the technology worked, so they ran tests on traditional machines made by other companies, put Theranos logos on the reports, and sent them to Pfizer as if they came from Theranos technology. Complete fabrication to close a deal. Theranos shut down completely in September 2018. The company that was going to revolutionize healthcare, valued at $9 billion, that had attracted some of the most powerful people in America, dissolved. Every investor lost everything, over $700 million gone. Holmes went to trial in 2021 on wire fraud charges. Prosecutors showed she'd lied to investors about partnerships with pharmaceutical companies, fabricated financial projections, misrepresented what the technology could do. They brought in investors who testified about specific lies Holmes told them in meetings. They showed internal emails proving Holmes knew the technology wasn't working as advertised. Her defense tried multiple strategies. They argued she genuinely believed in the technology, and any misstatements were honest mistakes, not fraud. They claimed Balwani had controlled and abused her, creating a situation where she wasn't fully responsible. They suggested Silicon Valley's fake-it-till-you-make-it culture meant her behavior was normal startup exaggeration, not criminal. January 2022, the jury found her guilty on 4 counts of defrauding investors. She was acquitted on charges related to defrauding patients. November 2022, she was sentenced to 11 years and 3 months in federal prison. She and Balwani were ordered to pay $452 million in restitution to defrauded investors. Holmes reported to prison in May 2023. She's currently serving her sentence at a federal prison in Texas. The restitution is symbolic since she has no money. Murdoch isn't getting his $125 million back. The Waltons aren't recovering their $150 million. How did so many smart people get fooled for so long? Holmes' charisma and carefully crafted presentation. The compelling narrative about saving lives that made people want to believe. The prestige of board members, each lending credibility that attracted the next. Silicon Valley's culture of believing visionary founders without asking hard questions. And maybe sexism working in her favor. Investors wanting to support a young female founder because it felt progressive, but at its core it was fraud. Holmes lied systematically to investors about what the technology could do. She fabricated partnerships, revenue, and demonstrations. She endangered patients with unreliable test results, all while presenting herself as an idealistic entrepreneur making the world better. The investors lost $452 million that's never coming back. The company burned through nearly $1 billion in total funding. Walgreens lost money. Safeway lost hundreds of millions. Patients received wrong results that may have affected their care. Employees who tried to speak up had their careers damaged and faced legal threats. And Holmes is in prison. Her billion-dollar net worth and reputation completely destroyed. It's one of the biggest frauds in Silicon Valley history. A stark reminder that charisma, powerful backers, and a compelling story are never substitutes for technology that actually works.